Hello everybody, I'm Krasi Attasio, I'm Sagittarius astrologer, and today I will make my next forecast for the upcoming lunar month, which starts with the appearance of the first thin lunar crescent after the moon was invisible for 3 days. So the moon was invisible for 3 days in the rays of the sun, and when we see in the evening after the sun sets the thin lunar crescent, we know that with this, the month is beginning. The next month, the next lunar month is beginning. So then I will follow up the path of the moon. We see which planet starts, the lunar god is meeting along its path, his path, and we'll see in what kinds of events this will manifest for us. So I will share with you my screen just to show you the most important day, the day when the first lunar crescent appears. So the 3 days before, when the moon was invisible, was the syzygy, called syzygy. Later on, further on, when we follow up the path of the moon, and when we reach the point when the moon and the sun are in opposition, this is the second syzygy point, which is also very important in order to see how the next half of the month will develop. So I will analyze this for you day by day to warn you for important days which you can make use of, for example, for surgeries or for medical procedures, to warn you to avoid travels. So I will basically give you the information that you may need for your everyday's life. So I'm sharing my screen with you. Yes, I hope you see. Yes, so yes. So this is the chart of the appearance of the first lunar crescent, which, as you see, I'm pointing, is appearing in Scorpio 2 degrees away from Antares. So what is this meaning for the next lunar month? This means that this lunar crescent, this lunar day, is emphasizing on Scorpio, on Mars. Interestingly, just 2 days before, when Mars moved into another sign, Mars changed signs from Capricorn, Sea, into Aquarius. So this is not a coincidence. Once again, this is emphasizing on Mars for this particular month. First, because the moon is in a Martian sign, ruled by Mars and Pluto, and secondly, because in the same moment, Mars changed signs. You may like to see my other video where I'm explaining in what way this change of Mars ingress into another zodiacal signs will influence us. So what we see here is that the moon is conjoined with Mercury and Jupiter, both invisible. And of course, the position of Mars is afflicting for the moon. So this lunar month will be very much about Mars. So especially the days around the ingress of Mars into another zodiacal sign are days of attention. So this would say that we may not, it's not advisable to get involved into risky situations. It's not advisable to travel when we are not sure of our safety. It is certainly not advisable to do important surgical interventions. In my other video, I explained what the risks might be when Mars is in Aquarius and how unpredictable Mars can be. So this can indeed result in continuous market challenges and it can also result in nature disasters, conflicts, accidents. Therefore, I advise that we be very careful. So this is how the lunar month starts. The moon with two invisible planets. In this way, I also have separate video about the entrance of Jupiter into Scorpio. But Jupiter is also very important, and especially with the moon, even more. So Jupiter in Scorpio is about high philosophical, secret, esoteric studies. It is about inheritance. It is about the deepest of the human soul. So this is about different expression of people's religion. So we may see also this happening around. In any case, we need to be cautious because Mars is being emphasized, and now during this particular lunar month, which will end with the next appearance of the lunar crescent, and this will also be around 8th of November. So actually, this first lunar crescent, this first lunar day is on the 9th of November. So I will stop sharing. We'll continue my explanation. So I'm looking at the celestial sphere, and I'm continuing day by day to tell you how the lunar month will look like. So on the 10th of November, the moon is in the last degrees of Scorpio, and these last degrees of Scorpio, the moon has no course. The moon is void of course, and this particular day is not very useful in terms of new beginnings, important initiatives. Basically, such day is not negative, but is also not very beneficial and will not bring any significant result for any activity that you do. I also don't advise on these particular days to do surgical interventions. Still, this is the sign Scorpio, ruled by Mars, and it's good to stay out of conflict and out of any risky situation. Then on the 11th, the moon is entering Sagittarius, where she is meeting Saturn, passing through the Milky Way. These are very lofty, very beautiful, very spiritual degrees of the Milky Way. And this is exactly what we may do some spiritual activities. The moon is receiving harmonious aspect by Venus, which, by the way, is already visible. Again, if you like to see my video on the heliacal phases of Venus, you may find this interesting. But Venus is in a stationary phase, which would say that any moment Venus will turn from retrograde to direct. So quite active but slowed down. So Venus is not particularly helping us with all the powers that Venus can give. But still, the harmonious aspect of Venus is quite well in terms of softening the influences of Saturn. But still, on this day, on the 12th of November and the 13th of November, I advise that we mainly do some spiritual activities, some studies, empathic work, helping others, for example, but avoid dangerous driving and any risky situation. On the 13th of November, the moon enters Capricorn with Ketu. There she is quite limited, but very spiritual, very esoteric, and on a foe. The moon is detriment in Capricorn, though the moon is passing through the very interesting degrees of Altair, the ego, a star related to mediumship, to clairvoyance. So people which have such capabilities, talents, will probably experience this passage of the moon through the horns of the Capricorn, of the goldfish. So this may be a very interesting day for those of you who do spiritual activities. Venus is making still aspect a square, but still this is a square by Venus. So the day could be really beneficial for such activities. This is the 5th lunar day, quite powerful, but still, this is Saturnian place. There is Ketu. The moon is quite limited, so I don't advise new beginnings and no surgical interventions yet. On the 14th of November, the situation is nearly similar. The moon is still in Capricorn. On the 15th of November, the moon is void of, actually it's not void of course, is receiving a square disharmonious aspect from the sun. This can be limiting in terms of achievements, career rank and career achievements. Can make us very practical in terms of following up our goals, but can be a little bit limiting us in terms of achieving what we are aiming at. Also not appropriate for doing new beginnings, because it can affect our emotional status, can make us a little bit unbalanced. But I believe if we concentrate on our work, if we concentrate on the practical side of the daily life, this will be all right. So this is then the moon on the 16th and the 17th of November will be in Aquarius, where the lunar god is meeting Mars. On the 15th is passing through with seeing Mars in exact conjunction. Avoid traveling or avoid dangerous, risky travels. On the 16th of November, the moon passes through Fomalhaut, very spiritual star, one of the 4 royal stars in Aquarius, and you may like to see my videos on the 4 royal stars, where I'm analyzing the royal stars one by one. After that, on the 17th of November, the moon is still in Aquarius, with harmonious aspect from Saturn. This could be quite supportive for your deeds, for spiritual work, could be quite supportive for the daily work, because the aspect of Saturn is harmonious. Mercury is making aspect, could be good in terms of well, Mercury is retrograde and invisible, so we will not be supported in our communication, media work. But for our everyday work will be quite okay, and very good for spiritual work, because the moon is in the waters of Aquarius, which is pure blessing for intuitive spiritual work. 18th of November, the moon enters Pisces. Of course, this is also a very spiritual place in the zodiac. There the moon is fine, but afflicted by Saturn, so be careful with your everyday work. The moon is in a quite powerful place, which is the point of the vernal equinox, so there the lunar god is kind of given even more power. And this is the place of exaltation of the moon. So the moon is very, very powerful there. And this will be powerful also for our deeds. But let's do this cautiously, because Saturn is afflicting the moon. And this is valid for the 18th and for the 19th of November, Sunday and Monday. So be careful for a conflicting situation. On the 20th of November, the moon is entering Aries. And of course, these particular degrees of the moon on the 20th are very pure. They're very beautiful. These are the degrees where Athena Pallas is projected, and these degrees are literally purity and wisdom. So if we do our plannings, if we do contemplation or if we need time to make important decisions, but not yet undertake the decisions, so this is most probably the right place, because these 5 degrees are pure and wise because of Athena Pallas. And maybe the harmonious aspect of Saturn, which is giving stability, when harmonious, which is giving wisdom as well. So no surgical intervention yet, because still the moon is waxing, and rather not. 21st of November, the moon enters degrees of Aries, which are not very harmonious. It can be blocking in terms of our deeds. And also remember that Mars is not very comfortable in Aquarius. So I would not do new initiatives. I would not do risky travels. I would do work on the, how you say it, just on the planning of the actions, because these degrees can be associated with ambition, but are not associated with new beginnings yet. Again, because Mars is aspecting, and Mars is not really very comfortable in Aquarius. Yes. 22nd of November, this time the moon is indeed, has no course, void of course. Such day is not dangerous, but it's also not particularly useful. It will not result, if we start doing something, it may not result in any great success. The moon is leaving Aries, and this the last degrees of Aries, where it is Saturnian term. This is a small section, of the sign term code, and this is a bit critical term. So on this day, do your usual routine deeds, your routine work, and I don't advise risky travels, conflicts to be undertaken. And already the moon is approaching the phase of full moon, which is happening in Taurus, and once again Mars is being emphasized, so we will not really escape the Martian events, because Mars is afflicting the moon in a square. And I may share with you my screen. Yes, so now you can see this is the chart of the full moon. This is the next syzygy. Which particular chart, which particular day, and this is 23rd of November, is decisive in order to see how the next half of the lunar month will look us, what will bring us. So you see the full moon is happening in Taurus, and again Mars is being strongly emphasized, afflicting the moon in a square. So from this day on, the moon is waning, and until at one certain point reaches the conjunction with the sun and stays visible for 3 days. But this will not be a very calm second half of the month, since Mars is afflicting the month. You have a great sort of, like you call it now, T-square, where Mars is in the 10th house. It's not the midheaven, but still, and is afflicting Mercury, invisible Jupiter, the Sun, and the Moon. So this will be quite. Mercury and Jupiter are afflicted. The Moon is afflicted. So this T-square is quite critical in terms of freedom of speech, open, honest media. So many things will become hidden, secretive, but the most important thing is that this can result in sort of violence, natural disasters, because of Taurus. And also it's good that we don't take any risks and risky situations. It's good that we do our routine work carefully. So I'm continuing day by day, and I'm looking at 24th of November, when the moon is in the last degrees of Taurus, and There we have powerful star of money and luck. In the meantime, on the 23rd, while the moon was in Taurus, the moon was near Aldebaran, the royal star of money and wealth, and the moon was afflicted there. So this will have impact on the finances, on the financial markets, also because Mars is so unpredictable. This will also impact our pockets, of course. On 25th of November, the moon is entering, already waning, is entering Gemini, where it's afflicted by Saturn. So these 2 days, 25th, 26th, let's be careful, stay out of conflict, don't undertake new beginnings, surgeries. It's not appropriate. Even though the moon is waning, I know I couldn't really indicate good days for surgical interventions, but I would rather put us on the safe side instead of putting you in a risk. 27th, this could be a good day really for surgical interventions. 27th, 28th, when the moon is in Cancer, not afflicted. So see, 27 and 28 you can make use of if you want to do any medical intervention. Well, this is also compromising date because Cancer has specific meaning in this regard, but carefully with the needed preparation, this could be one of the nearly good days. These two could be the days that are nearly fine for this purpose. On the 29th of November, I'm looking at my other screen where I'm moving the celestial sphere. On the 29th of November, the moon is entering Leo, afflicted by Mars. Be careful on this day. In terms of traveling, in terms of, especially if you have Leo rising, Leo might have Sun in Leo, and I'm explaining which signs to be particularly careful in my separate video on the ingress of Mars in Aquarius. So 30th of November, the same story. Be careful, Mars is afflicting the moon. 1st of December, the moon enters Virgo, fallen against its place of exaltation, but still here the moon is not afflicted. You may use the day for medical advices, medical interventions. You may do work like media, but you may not be very rewarded though, because Mercury is still invisible and retrograde. And with this day, Mercury is already in heliacal phase of appearance. So you may really have success in maintaining your media work, communication work, studies, teachings on 1st of December, 2nd of December as well, because Mercury is already approaching the phase of appearance where he will, a few days later, he will appear on the eastern horizon or as a morning star. 3 of December, moon is conjoining Venus in Libra, and Venus is visible direct in own sign. So this will be really a wonderful, wonderful day. Yes, also very beneficial period for making Venus talismans. 4, 3 and 4 of December are great days for reaching peace with someone, for improving your relationships with your partners, beloved ones, for doing your routine work. Mercury is already visible on the 4th of December in Scorpio, and this can be great for teaching, for communication. If you want to publish something, this is the right moment when Mercury is appearing. By the way, you may welcome Mercury early in the morning. He will appear shortly before the sun rises. look early on the eastern horizon. You may be able to see, depending of course on your longitude, you may be able to see Mercury. Connect with him in order to be really lucky in terms of communication, study, creativity. On the 5th of December, the moon is approaching Mercury, the same very good day. Fine for surgical interventions. 6th of December, the moon is invisible. 6th, 7th. The moon is invisible. And the lunar crescent for marking the next lunar month will appear on the 9th of December and will appear in Sagittarius. And then I will make my next lunar forecast in order to inform you how your month will look like and which are the risky days. So with this, I'm concluding my brief analysis. Hope it was useful. You're welcome to comment, to give me your suggestions also for interesting topics in astrology. Thank you very much.